Hey y'all, it's Prance again. We're going to talk about the Dodge Challenger today in detail. So y'all stick with me. We're going to talk about mods, level 1, level 2, level 3. Where are you trying to go with yours? So again, I'm Prance, and we're going to talk about the Challenger, and we really want to concentrate over the next couple of videos, if you will, on level 1, level 2, level 3 type mods, because I think you can really break them into those categories for the Challenger. So this video in particular is about level 1 mods to their Challenger. Challenger is, in my opinion, the best of all the muscle cars. And a lot of the reason why is that, of course, it starts out with all the classic look and the lines and things like that I just prefer over the Mustang or the Camaro. I think it's more to the original idea of what those first muscle cars were. When they modernized them, when we did the modern repeats, if you will, of the Challenger, the Camaro, and the Mustang, nobody stuck with the original body style closer than what Dodge did. And then once you have that baseline, there are just so many cool things you can do to it. And I think part of having a muscle car, or any car for that matter, is to make it your own, And I mean, you can go out here and buy the cookie cutter cars off the lot if you want a Camry or a Nissan or whatever, and that's fine for everyday driver sort of things. But this is something different. This is a piece of Americana. It's a piece of you. And that's the way I see these muscle cars that they should be. So when you start talking about modifying them or, doing the mods, it's endless, right? And I've done some to mine. Most of those, and the first ones you're probably going to do if you get one of these cars, are just the general appearance stuff. Most of them are very inexpensive things that you can do. You don't have to get crazy. But there are some things that you should do, I think, too, that are practical changes. Maybe some performance upgrades, things like that. And I'm getting to the point now, after the basic mods and things that I wanted to do from an appearance standpoint, it was easy for me to do. Kind of the next transition into that is doing more of the things that are performance-wise, and or, some of those I can do, maybe some of those I need to have done. So let's talk just for a second about that. The second might be getting into those mods that are actually, and these can kind of lap over in that first category, but are a little bit of more of a performance and or just practical upgrades. Things that probably just should have been done even from the factory, but little tweaks you can make without a lot of money invested or a lot of mechanical engineering know-how. And then there's the third group, where it's where you really go into the performance mods. And some of those are above my head. Frankly, most of us, including me, would have to have a professional to do those, where we start really modding the engine and things like that. So we're going to talk about each of those different levels. I'm on that first level still, really, and starting to move into that. And I've done a few of those second level ones. But we want to talk about some of those that you could do and give you a little more idea, maybe what you want to do to your Challenger as you get it, and what are the first things you'd want to do? What are the next level you'd want to do? And then what are the dream things, right? Or the really radical stuff, maybe stuff that's going to cost you money, it's going to cost you time. And some of those third ones are drastically going to change this car. From being an everyday driver to a track car or just a show car. So when you get to that point, you've really got to start making some decisions about what are you wanting. In my opinion, you really need to start making some of those decisions as soon as you get it. What's the purpose of this thing? Why'd you get it? Is it just to drive every day? Is it something you want to make a show car? Or is it a race car? And if so, what kind of race car? because all those changes you make are going to affect that and the ultimate outcome. So let's talk about those. So from an appearance standpoint, you know, you can do all sorts of things. There's there's just an endless amount of mods and options of what you want to do to your Dodge Challenger. I want to start at kind of the front of my vehicle and work my way back along the sides and the rear end, and we'll just show you some of the key things I've done. And I may go into more detail about some of these later different videos, but just want to kind of do a highlight of those and mention some of them here on this front fascia, for instance. I think this front end is just the most beautiful thing that any manufacturer's ever done, because it's so much like the original 1970 grill if you look at those. Maybe I'll see if I can find a snapshot of one of those and give you a comparison here to what you're seeing right now. With that said, you know, I've done some things to capture that original look too. And one of the most noticeable things, stuff that people usually ask me about that they don't see on other cars, is the Dodge lettering here on the front of my car. And no, that's not factory, it's not original. But it is something that if you look at the 1970 model Dodge Challenger, all of them had this Dodge lettering on there. And I always liked that. I thought it was just classic look to that car. But it's not on this newer body style of the modern Challenger. But I got online, and I'll put a link to that in the descriptions, and found, and you can search for it and find lettering, this Dodge lettering. This is this lettering that's original to a 1970 Dodge Challenger, and ordered it and simply put it on here spaced out just like the original 1970 was. Now, the other time you'll see this, and a lot of people have, you know, some have made comments on pictures of my car that say, oh, it's a last call, a Hellcat, a Ghost, a black Ghost. The last call 2023 Dodge Challenger Red Eye Black Ghost model does have this lettering on the front, just like this. And that's a throwback to the 1970 Dodge Challenger. That's why they did that. That's why Dodge did that. And so that's something I thought looked good. I liked it. I'm not trying to make it out to be a fake Ghost or anything like that. I just like the look of it, and did that before I even realized that they were doing that with the new 23s. This is a 21 model, actually. And it is an RT. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. So it's 5.7. I'll show you under the hood here in a few minutes. But the done a few things. So the Dodge lettering, the hood pins that are on there, and all right, y'all gonna skim me up about this. No, those are not real hood pins. They are the generic fake ones, if you will, okay? But for me, I wasn't ready to drill a hole in my hood yet. I may do that and get some of the no kidding hood pins that have the pins that go through the hood itself, but these are simply, I don't know how else to say it, they're just fake hood pins. They look just like original ones with the cables that attach into the grill and come up with the little Carter pins that go through the studs here. But those studs are just attached on top of the hood to the main, the plate that you see there. And those have that kind of a bronzy look. I don't really care for that, to be quite honest with you. I know it doesn't necessarily match the rest of my car here. So I've got some black ones that I'm going to change those out to, and I will show you those when I do that. One other thing I want to mention here when I talk about the cables here on the hood pins, I told you these are fake, but the hood pins, the cables themselves, these are not the cables that came with these little kits. I ordered these separate because I wanted that, you know, they come kind of a metal braid, if you will, and I wasn't too crazy about that riding on my paint there. And so those have got like they're a little thicker in diameter cable, and they have a coating, a plastic coating that's on those that is black, obviously, and matches the car better. And rather than the silver that stood out a little bit more. Another thing that I did here on the hood is you may notice the 345 emblem. Now that's not original either. It's not something that's on most of the cars. It is usually on the late model cars, you'll have on the side panel here, on the quarter panel, it'll say Hemi. And I removed the Hemi logos and used the old original script lettering. Again, throwback to the 1970 model Challengers. That's the way they were. And then I still wanted something with the 345 on it or the 5.7 logos. And so I put that up on the hood scoop. I have changed out this originally, the piece in this was originally just a flat black, much like the splitter down there at the bottom. But I like that gloss look, and so I've changed that out. Moving down just a little, you'll notice my inserts. And what I mean by the inserts is this car, when it was originally the 21 models, these pieces here inside the grille were chrome. And I had it like that for some time, but I just like the blacked out look a little bit better. I don't want to go all black, but completely what they call murdered out. But these are simply inserts that you can order. Again, they're on my Amazon store. You can order these, and they're double back tape. They just simply slide over. They're like a casing over the original one. So you don't have to do any major modification pulling the old stuff out. You can simply slip those over. The RT symbol is still in there. That's original to the car. And then on this side, you'll notice the original, this car when it came had the block lettering for the Challenger. Hey, Remy. Had the original Challenger that was in here, it was in a block lettering. Well, I like the old script 1970 look. And so I ordered that logo, or that grill piece, grill emblem, and put it in there. And so I thought that just kind of balanced all that out to make it look a lot better, flow a lot better. You'll notice that on all these, the late model, even the RTs, and I think probably the GTs of this version of the 6-cylinder version of these, there is these internal, you got the 4 headlights, right? The newer models here in the 21s have the LEDs in them, with the rings around the outside, the halogens that you can set in there on the dash to in the controls to be amber colored or white light. But something that folks some understand and some not is this plug here that's the intake. Even on the RTs, this, when it comes, it's sealed up. It's just got a plastic plug in there that snaps in. And you can remove those. It just lets air into the engine compartment. Both sides are the same way. You can reach on the inside. There's 3 little clips and remove it. But you can actually change out, because this is identical to either a Scat Pack or the Hellcats with the larger supercharged even engines that have the headlight intake there. The idea is for it to be more of a ram air type intake that goes straight into the air box. We'll raise the hood in a second and show you that air box, but I have changed those out so that the air can go into those headlights and straight into my air box. And it's a noticeable difference in the sound and the draw. When you rev it up, you'll actually get a suction into that hole. So they function, it works when you do that, but you need to add the Hellcat air box in there. On the other side, where does that one go? Well, it just goes right into the engine compartment. And if you just leave it open, you're gonna suck air in there and water and so forth when it rains. So I have added a tube that I can show you, just like on this side, that goes in and then turns down to direct any water or debris that comes in there actually down past the engine bay and runs it out the bottom. One of the coolest things mods that we've done, in my opinion, is the mods to these intake tubes here. And I know it's hard to see here on this video, but inside of the intake tubes, you can do inserts of all types in here. But I actually have the tubes in there that light up. And so when the headlights are on, they light, and they got some graphics on those. And so that's something, that was a pretty significant mod there to the front. When you put those on, you actually had to do some taking those front panels off, getting in there around the headlights. And I've seen some people take the entire grills out, or the whole front cap, to get those in. But that's a very cool mod that allows you to light up the front with those. And I'll show you what that looks like with the lights on too. So that's what it looks like when they're lit up. You can see the tubes that going back into the air vents I mentioned are actually lit as well. So pretty cool. So that works. You'll notice I've added the tag plate in the front. Some people don't like that, I know, but I like the old tag on there. That's an Alabama tag, by the way, a state flag, subdued. And I thought it just gave a unique twist, made it my vehicle, made it unique to me. I wanted to also add just a little bit more about this tag here. The bracket for it is kind of unique. There's a multitude of different types of these tag holders that you can put on these cars. You know, from the factory, they have the ones that bolt on to the bumper here. I don't like those at all. I wanted this one to be as low to the road as I could get there, and as low profile and set back into the car, look like part of it as much as possible. So that is kind of a three-piece thing there. You've got two brackets that attach through the grill here and hold to it. And then there is a cover, a rubberized cover for the tag itself that protects it. It's a little more waterproof. And then the tag itself. And even the little plugs, if you will, that cover the screw holes for that, I thought just made it look a lot neater. Again, I'll have a link to that in my description on this whole video. But if you're looking for a tag holder, I think that's a good, neat one. It wasn't too expensive, but does a great job. It's been very durable. They make some too that are removable. They have almost like a receiver hitch type concept where you can just unclip that thing and take it off completely if you need to. I know that could be very practical, I would think, for guys who are in a state that requires a front tag, but you might not want it on there during a car show or something like that. And so you can very easily take it off. So that's some of the aesthetics there on the front, really quick. Again, I can show you some of the other things about the airbox and all that in a later video. Some of those are videos in themselves about those mods. Obviously, these are not the factory wheels. I've changed the wheels out on this car, and those are some niche 20 by 9s with 275s all the way around now. You know, the 245, I mean the 345s come with 245 40/20 tires on them. Those are just not enough, frankly, to hook up. Even, you know, people, all that 5.7 slow. Yeah, well, you need to drive it. Experience it before you go try and spend the money on the difference for the 6.2 or the 6.4 Scat Pack, because there is not that much difference in them. And in the initial driving and power and performance, when you really talk about the ability to get the power to the road, okay? I don't jump on me too bad. I know the Scat Packs and the Hellcats are a whole lot more powerful and faster. But as far as just getting the rubber to the road, the power, the horsepower, and the torque to the road, this car, the 5.7, with these now 275 wider tires on it. And, you know, some guys go all the way up as wide as 315s, 305s, 315s on these narrow body RTs. It can be done. You just have to have the right offset of the wheels and things. That's something we can talk about at another time too. But coming down the side, obviously my windows are tinted. And that's going to be one of the first things I think you're going to want to do, I think. Obviously, my car being black, it's natural that the windows need to be blacked out. But you can make those choices for yourself. Some of your state law may dictate those things as well. As I mentioned, got the script Challenger on the side. I've done little subtle things, like on my door panel, the door, you got the carbon fiber here, inserts that are under the door latches. I've changed out, and this is something just about everybody does. You know, these come with the chrome gas cap cover, and I've changed mine out to a carbon fiber because I'm kind of going with the theme. I'm going to do some more carbon fiber, I think, over time on this, just to as kind of some detailing. And so those are some things I did. The back spoiler, the window spoiler up here, this is something that I thought was added a little spunk to it, a little more added to the lines of the car. Some people do the whole louvers, things like that on the back window and these side windows. Personally, I don't care for those as much, but that's an option for sure for you to look at. Then talking about the rear of the car, several things that I've done here too, and I'll give you a peek at that. I may have to kind of move or open the door here where I can get to it a little better. Okay, so looking at the rear of my Challenger, several little aesthetic, you know, if you will, that first level mods that I've made to it as well. Some of the most obvious is, obviously, you know, I mentioned the spoiler on the back window. I've added that Mopar sticker there that is behind the tent. I did that just to subdue it a little more. You could put it all, obviously, on the outside. Some people don't like stickers and things, and I don't care for them that much, so that one's a little bit subdued. If you really, when you back off the car, you can see, you can barely even see it. It's not always even noticeable until you walk right up on it, depending on the light also that you're in. The rear of the car, one of the mods that just about everybody makes at some point, or you're going to want to on this Challenger, is this panel right here between the taillights. It comes in this, you know, it'll be gloss black, and just because of the nature of the beast here, in and out of the trunk and moving around, I think it's even something about the aerodynamics here at the back of the car. Things scratch and skin that piece right there. You're going to get scratches on it. Count on it. And so what I did is, that's an insert that goes on there. You can see it. Hopefully the camera shows it. It's kind of subdued carbon fiber. Looks like a flag, American flag. And I left the Dodge logos, the emblems on there, it matches the ones on my grill, I mean on the hood that I showed you. But most people will remove those completely, or there is a plethora of options to put Challenger across there, your own personal logos, emblems. Some people, you know, if you got a Scat Pack or a Hellcat, they'll do the logos in there. All sorts of options there, again, to customize that and to make it your own. And I really encourage you to look at those if you've got one of these Challengers. One of the next things you'll see is originally I tinted the back tail lights with a kit to do that. And you can find those as well online very easily, very economically. I wanted to black out the back lights. And then I ended up upgrading that, if you will, to a kit that's some hard covers that are on the tail lights. Very easy to install. Fits on there, and it completely blacks those out, but it's just a light tint. And so it looks completely OEM, but when you step on the brakes, you see the lights as normal. And I just thought it flowed better with my black car for sure. Okay, one thing here also that I, talking about things I forgot as I was going around this, are the marker lights on the front and the back corners have also been changed out. And originally those marker lights, again, I mentioned about I got a tint kit for the back tail lights and covered those. Well, that kit came with side marker lights as well, or tint for them. That's pre-cut, you can put on there. It's pretty easy to do. But then You know, naturally, you know, those peeled one thing or another. I don't like that. So to upgrade those, when I did the tail lights with the hard covers, I also upgraded these side lights to some LEDs on here. And you can see those. So the entire light is changed out to LEDs, white LEDs on the corners. You can see how the tail lights look when they're lit up. But those on the rear and on the front corners are white lights now. Of course, they come on when I start the car. Those park lights come on. Those come on the sides as well. One thing on these side markers, when we talk about the back of the car, is, you know, it has two lower lights here above the quads tips that are here. Those are just reflectors in the original cars. And they make some kits to change those out to where they actually will function as lights. That's something I'm really considering too from a aesthetic standpoint, for looks. I just think it should have been that way from the factory. It's one of those upgrades that they probably should have made, so if they didn't, heck, I will. One other thing here is that I didn't mention a while ago is I went by are these little mud flaps or flares right behind the wheels, and they're on all four, on the front and behind the rear wheels. They're more of a mud flap here on the back. Obviously, with the wider tires, I wanted something that protects the sides of the car here from, you know, little chips and things kicking up off the road. And that's one of the early things that I did, actually. Those were very easy to install as well. They bolt right to the existing trim work there and add those little bit of, you can see from the rear even, gives a little bit of meat, if you will, wider along the sides. They make side skirts for these as well, and I've considered that, you know, that would do sort of another add-on along the bottom of the door. But for now, you'll notice down at the tips, it comes with those just canned rectangular exhaust tips, and I have changed mine out to some quad tips with some carbon fiber even in them. And these are not real expensive ones. You can get some high dollar ones here. You can spend several $100s on some quad tips if you want to dish out the cash. But had to have some quad tips. And you can, you know, aesthetically set those in deeper if you wanted to. I like the look of them having a little bit of beef to them there, sticking out from under the car. You may not like that as much. You can set them back evenly if you want to do that, but you may have to adjust for the resonators under there. Those two back mufflers, if you don't know what that is. And I still have the full stock exhaust on my car right now. Haven't done a mid-delete or anything, because frankly, it's pretty dang loud as it is. But I've considered it, thinking about it. But again, you know, when we talk about that first level of changes, I really recommend to you that you stick with the baseline, the aesthetic looks, start tweaking the car the way you want it, and then we can make some of those next steps up, like I was mentioning, the airbox in the front or the exhaust, and some of those things can always come down the road. But kind of get the exterior of it looking the way you want it. Now, one of the big changes I did make here, some of you probably already noticed, is that's not the original spoiler. The spoiler that comes on the RTs is it's shorter than this, and it sets back on the hood or on the trunk lid just a little further. This is a red-eye style spoiler, and that I ordered and replaced. That's one of the biggest, as far as the work goes, modifications to get that spoiler, the old one, off and this one back on. It's probably one of the most, frankly, time-consuming and, you know, tedious things for me that I did. Not too crazy about tearing into a new car like this, and so I watched some other folks' material on that and learned how it was actually attached, and took the time to dig in there and change it. The new one came with, it's got the backup camera built in, so you didn't lose any of that. And I'm thinking about, when I talk about the trim being you know, adding the carbon fiber and so forth. Probably one of the next things I'm going to do is have that spoiler wrapped with carbon fiber. Thinking about that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe and I've even thought about, you know, wraps as far as the back trunk lid and the hood to make them all match up. But those are things I may or may not do over time. Back here, another thing on the rear of the car, you'll notice I have not added a diffuser or changed the diffuser, they call it, or that back piece between the lower part of that bumper. I've considered it. I've looked at a bunch of them. Got a few in my, you know, my wannabe box, my wish box, but I haven't done that yet either. That is a pretty good project, changing that out. It is something I think I can do myself, but you know, frankly, I kind of like the way they look from the factory, and I may end up doing something back here eventually, but it's a major cosmetic change now when you do the louvers across the bottom there for the diffuser, and some of those are designed to be functional, and some of them are purely aesthetic, just for looks. So you want to choose the right one when you do that too, but that's something that you might want to consider also. So one other thing I wanted to mention on the aesthetics of the outside too that I forgot to mention a while ago when we were doing the walk around is the brake calipers. And you can see that they're red in there. Now those are not Brembos on my little RT. They're factory less than Brembo. I guess they're OEM brake calipers. And sure, I'd like to upgrade those. But from that first level I'm talking about, a modification, you know, I did what a lot of guys do, and I wanted them to be, especially when I changed the wheels, I wanted them to have a better appearance than they were originally, just a gray, you know, metallic color behind there. And so I wanted them to pop a little bit more. And so I got the kit to, and I'll put a link to that also in the description, that it's the paint kit. It comes with just enough paint to change the color of those. Really, they got a bunch of options, whatever color you want, again, to match the rest of the theme you're going for. Obviously, my trim's red and carbon fiber, and so I wanted those to be red. And so wasn't that difficult to do. Again, while I had the wheels off, painted those. It's a heat-resistant paint. Now, that's very important. If you're going to paint your brake calipers, don't be just spray painting them with some Rust-Oleum, because it won't last. First time they get hot, it'll smoke it off of there. So this is designed to handle the heat of the brakes. So make sure that if you're going to upgrade that, painting those original OEM brake calipers, that you do it with a high quality product that can handle the heat. And so, but you can tell they look better. Front and back are done like that. And so that's another aesthetic mod. And so that's some of the key just visual things that I have done to the car. Some of the aesthetics of the look of it, from window tint to spoilers to those little tweaks of little details like the gas cap lid, the pieces into your door handles, the Challenger logos, those type little things that have made a world of difference. Changed this car, quite frankly, from being a Challenger to being Prunty's Challenger. That is what the American muscle car experience is about, in my opinion. Making this car your own. Hope that's a quick wraparound of those level 1 mods that I've done. And when I say level 1 mods, I'm talking about really aesthetics, appearance mods that make it your own. Doesn't necessarily change the performance of this car whatsoever. I don't know. Maybe you could argue the spoiler does, and the you know, some people argue the pipes give them the quads are better for the exhaust even, and the intake. Those might be some that would give you, you know, half a horsepower or something. But for the most part, these are just the visual mods and things that I would think you want to consider right up front. And if you got questions about any of those, I'll be glad to answer your questions. So we appreciate you watching this video on our level 1 mods that we've done to the Challenger. And next, come on back with us or check the other videos for level 2 mods. And there's also a level 3. So thank you for watching.